With the fate of Latveria hanging in the balance, it will be the Star-Spangled Man Steve Rogers versus the Iron Fist of Dr. Doom. But what about the lives of those caught in the crossfire? Will they end up making all the difference? Well, let's hop into the pages of Captain America issue number 4 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as this issue opens up, we're treated to yet another flashback to the early years of David Colton. We learn that after he killed another soldier in his team in an act of retaliation following that soldier gunning down an innocent child, the top military brass did everything they could to sweep it under the rug. This newest bloody boondoggle only proving that Colton is no Steve Rogers. Of course, they can't discharge him, sunken cost fallacy and all that. The government's already spent billions trying to turn him into a super soldier, only to prove much too late that he can't hack it in the spotlight. It looks like moving forward, it's going to be cloak and dagger espionage for him. Never will he be the public-facing Captain America, which actually goes a long way to explaining why we never actually heard of this guy or his adventures until right now. Now back in the present, Dr. Doom is getting ready to make a very public execution of the rebel leaders, and of course Victor came packing one hell of a speech. These are the enemies of our nation, the ones who would seek to steal your security, your prosperity, and for what? Democracy, a country where fools and philosophers have equal say so nothing ever changes? Not in Doom's Latveria, not when all is provided for the people. But I suppose some will always be too insecure to accept Doom's greatness. And wouldn't you know it, at that very moment when everyone is at their absolute lowest and all seems lost, who calls out from the crowd but Captain America himself? Steve Rogers having not only survived the big explosion from the end of the previous issue, but having actually gone out of his way to reclaim his classic costume from Doom's trophy room. In his internal monologue, Steve talks about how when he was thawed from the ice, at first he had so many questions, he wondered what was his purpose, why did any of this matter? But that it's right here, right now, at this very moment, he truly understands, as he is here, shield in hands once more, facing down a terrible despot. Now that in and of itself is pretty great, pretty damn classic Captain America stuff, but it's what happens next that makes Chip Zdarsky such a clever writer, as this big, heroic, climactic scene is juxtaposed with what Captain Colton and the Howling Commandos are doing. You'll remember in the last issue they had attempted to rescue a group of American hostages only to show up too late. Well, it turns out not all hope is lost, as they can still hopefully save the ambassador and his family. Colton and his people fight their way tooth and nail through the streets of Latveria. A few of the other soldiers make a crack here and there about how this Captain America can't even throw his shield in cool ways that ricochet. Just another reminder of the many ways in which Colton and Steve are different. Eventually, they do actually manage to find the ambassador and his young daughter alive. And at first, it looks like mission accomplished and that there might actually be a silver lining to the dark cloud that was this mission, but it's only right then at that very moment Colton ends up getting betrayed by Slate and the other members of the Howling Commandos who murder the ambassador and plan to kill his daughter as well. Why, you might be wondering? Well, it's so obvious I'm shocked I didn't think of it earlier. Well, you see, it turns out that the American government actually funded Victor Von Doom's coup against the old king of Latveria. You know, just like all the very real-world regime changes the American government were involved in. Damn your sudden but inevitable betrayal, American government. The Howling Commandos were only sent in to cover tracks for Thunderbolt Ross and kill anyone who could implicate their involvement, including, this child. Captain Colton is understandably apoplectic. The worst day of his life is repeating itself all over again, and there's nothing he can do about it. He defends the kid, but he also tries to appeal to Slate's human nature, saying that this isn't what they're about. We're supposed to be the good guys, right? Only Slate ends up completely deflating this guy like a damn balloon by basically implying that, hey, we're top-tier operators, we're not the good guys. You want to be a good guy? Join the Peace Corps next time. Now back in the city, things are touch and go for Steve. He ends up getting overwhelmed fighting not only Dr. Doom, but his Doom bot. The Star-Spangled Man attempts to make one hell of a play by attacking Dr. Doom's inflated ego, saying that if he was a real man and a real leader, he would have no problem fighting him one-on-one, mano-a-mano in front of everyone, and of course, this ends up working. The battle itself ends up being so titanic it sends shockwaves throughout the entire city. Innocent Latveria Latverians are about to die before Steve steps on in to save them. A fact of which, you guessed it, 100% disgusts Dr. Doom. What are you even trying to do? They're not even Americans. These are my people. They know the weight of sacrifice. They know their place in the greater cosmic order. America used to know this too, but they lost their way. Maybe when I'm done here, I, Doom, will liberate them. Obviously, that touches a major nerve for Steve, but thankfully he has one hell of a trump card saved up his sleeve, that device that Reed gave him at the very beginning of the series, one that manages to depower Victor's suit long enough for Captain America to really start throwing hands on him. In fact, he hits him so hard he knocks the mask off his face. And hey, what were Steve and Victor talking about before? The power of being more than a man, about being a symbol? Well, you know, that's a trick strongmen dictators have been doing since the very beginning, trying to make it feel like to the people they're ruling over that they're somehow more. But right here, right now, in front of the entire country, Captain America is reminding the people of Latveria just how human and flawed Doom is as they all look upon his messed up face. And once again, Doom's ego is so thoroughly bruised he ends up completely retreating. All in all, not a bad day of superheroing for Steve after having finally embraced the Captain America persona. Too bad for him, though, at the other end of this mission. Poor Colton has finally 100% snapped. He caught up with Slate, killed her, traumatized the kid, and is now vowing to stop at nothing to kill everyone else involved with this conspiracy. The worst and most tragic part, though, is all he can seem to say, though, is why me? Why again? Why can I never be the hero? And it's on that jaw-dropping note right there the comic comes to a close, everybody. And so that was Captain America issue number 4. Once again, I think Chip Zdarsky and company really end up hitting this one out of the park. The double act of Steve and Colton really is something amazing to behold. We see Steve finally get outside of his own head and his own emotions, reestablish himself as Captain America, and become the hero we all know and love before our very eyes, while on the other hand, Colton completely cracks under all the pressure and corruption that have been eating at him since the very beginning. Two men, two very different paths. And yet, there but for the grace go I. Again, I think what makes this story really work is how Zdarsky doesn't go out of his way to demonize Colton as a character. His failure to become Captain America, his failure to become a positive symbol for America is treated as a tragedy. And you just know it's only going to get worse when him and Steve ultimately end up clashing. This is also a really solid look, too, into Dr. Doom early on in his career as a strongman dictator. In fact, it dovetails very nicely with what's going on with him over in One World Under Doom right now. Overall, I've just been loving this one since it began. I continue to love it. In fact, I think this is probably an easy shoo-in for one of my comic series of the year. Overall, I think I feel comfortable giving this one another very strong, very positive 9 out of 10, and if you're not reading this book right now, you are most definitely missing out. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.